Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is March 18th. Dylan Cease got traded. Marte got suspended, plus injuries. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? 10 days remain from now until opening day next Thursday. Get hyped, get excited, and get ready for another great season of baseball. I am counting the days, and it's been helpful being able to do this all year long, all off season, and talk about some of the moves and everything that's been going on in the world of baseball to keep me up to date and informed. I hope you guys have been happy and along for our journey. The TOPs have finished, so if you missed any of those, all of those are up wherever you find the podcast, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. All 30 teams, so if you're looking for one team in particular, it's much easier now to just kind of find it instead of having to wait every so often. But today is not about that. Today is a normal episode here. We're just going to be talking about the baseball that's been happening, the things that we've missed since, and kind of gear up for baseball. So, yeah, I'm excited, and we're going to get straight into this right now with Dylan Cease, because that's the biggest news that happened since we, little hiatus of actual episodes. He got traded. Finally, it happened. We were all speculating from the moment offseason started till, I guess, now. Dylan Cease, no longer a White Sox. He is getting traded to the San Diego Padres for prospects Drew Thorpe, Jairo Arrieta, Samuel Zavala, and Steven Wilson. Apologies if any of those names were butchered. Obviously, we're not going to spend too much time in the White Sox portion of things. These are all prospects. Drew Thorpe is a familiar name, I believe. I think I've heard him in the league a couple times by now. But, we'll see how these kids progress in the White Sox system. And hopefully, one or two of them turn into something great for the White Sox. But we will spend time talking about Dylan Cease as a whole and what this means for the Padres, who, of course, right now are in South Korea, I believe, or wherever the Seoul Series is happening. I believe it was in Korea, Japan. Apologies there. Dylan Cease, one of the shining stars of the White Sox. Definitely a harder 2023 than 2022. 2022, he was great. A 14-8 record, all 32 starts made, a 2.2 ERA, second in Cy Young voting for him. Last year, a bit of a different story. He struggled last year. A 7-9 record, a 4.58 ERA, all 33 starts made, 177 innings, 214 strikeouts. Of course, I'm saying struggled, but it's still a pretty good year outside of the ERA. Of course, was playing on a White Sox team that, let's be honest, wasn't very good. That's why some of those losses happened. That's why he wasn't able to get the offense production that he might have needed to be, a better pitcher than, he actually turned out to be. His numbers were still great. The strikeouts were still very high. Third straight year in a row with 200 plus strikeouts. So he has been a very good pitcher for the White Sox. And now it's for the Padres. Of course, San Diego playing in the Seoul Series. They've already listed their 1 and 2, as well as the Dodgers. It's Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove for the Padres. And the Dodgers have Tyler Glasnow and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Right now, Dylan Cease is slotted in the 3 spot, which means he would be the opening day starter for the San Diego Padres, essentially being on Thursday, unless they go back and pitch Yu Darvish or Musgrove. They'll have the week off, and it would be fine there. Either way, should get into the action in the first series. He's a good pitcher. He's a great pitcher, really. When outside of last year, he's been really good for the White Sox. 2021, 2022, even. So I guess the question you gotta, or of course 2022 was his great year. Obviously, as a White Sox fan, it sucks because you're, kind of foregoing, this, like it's done. It's done. You guys are coming last in your division. There won't be any hope for the White Sox. Yes, Luis Robert Jr. is there. What can you get from Moncada, etc. But I mean, your starting situation, your pitching situation, how quickly it turned from the White Sox from 2020, 2021 to now. Because, I mean, you're talking about a team that made playoffs 2 straight years to, you know, what they are now. It's really tough. But for San Diego, you're ecstatic. Like this was kind of the push you might have needed to get you over the hump a little bit. Obviously, we know how good the Dodgers are. The Diamondbacks, reigning NL champions, could be in the mix. The Giants made the move to acquire Matt Chapman. Their team got a lot better. And, you start to wonder if yourself with San Diego, right? You lose out on some of your key guys. You lost Hader. You lost Blake Snell, still unsigned. Lugo, Waka, Nick Martinez. Like a lot of those names, were impactful into the Padres system and the Padres team here. And what they have is still a great team that features Bogarts and Tatis and Darvish and Musgrove. But, some of that, like, you lost Soto. You traded away Soto. Like, that's going to be hard to replace in a way. And you guys barely missed playoffs. You guys had a late surge at the end to kind of try to fight your way into it. But the season as a whole last year wasn't right for San Diego. They had a lot of missing parts and a lot of missing pieces, and it never clicked at the right time. So now you're asking yourselves, okay, now we lost our best relief pitcher, one of our best pitchers. How do we come back from that? And, what they've done so far this offseason has been decent. When you look at what they've had to work with, trading away Soto isn't ideal, but Michael King, Johnny Brito, Kyle Higashioka, those guys will replace, roles there. Like that's your new starting pitching rotation, essentially. This trade for Cease is a big one. It kind of helps certify that rotation as, what it's supposed to be for a playoff team. Darvish, Musgrove, and Cease is a very strong 1-2-3 punch with Michael King in that 4 spot. That's a playoff rotation, and that's going to win you games. Outside of, Musgrove had a little bit of spring struggles, but we'll see how he does against the Dodgers on Thursday. It's really interesting to see, how San Diego is going to come out the gates this year in a way. If they start the season strong, we'll be talking about a very good Padres team this year and a possible playoff team. But if they start the year cold, it's kind of a repeat of last year, and that's what they're trying to avoid. And I think the move for Cease helps. I don't know how the Padres value the pitchers. For me, I still think Snell is a better pitcher than Dylan Cease. I would rather have Blake Snell than Dylan Cease. But, from Blake Snell to Michael King, that was really poor. So now he's Blake Snell to Dylan Cease. It's a little bit closer for me. And, the rotation, although in my opinion got a little worse, is still a viable playoff rotation. The team will be good. And I think the Padres are going to be in the mix a little bit more here than we actually think. Last year, of course, finished one game over 500, 82-80. They got to chase the Diamondbacks first. They got to stay away from the Giants, chase the Diamondbacks, and then, have hope against the Dodgers like they did in 2022. It'll be interesting, but that is the move there. Dylan Cease, a San Diego Padre. Good for Dylan Cease to, go from a team like the White Sox to go from a playoff team like the Padres. I mean, when the news came out, the Padres were going to be hours away from getting on their flight. So I hope he had his passport fixed, and I hope he got there in time. I think he is in he's obviously not pitching in the Seoul Series, but he is there watching and supporting his new team and getting to know some of his new teammates. Moving on here, let's talk about in a suspension. Noelvi Marte. Yikes. We got to talk about it because he's been busted. He has been suspended 80 games for violating MLB's PED policy. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, or should I guess? Boldenone. I should have practiced that before starting this. Boldenone was the substance apparently used. And this sucks, man. It sucks because in the Reds TVP, or the TOP, I was praising this kid and he's part of the future with Encarnacion Strand and Ellie De La Cruz. And this just puts a sour taste in my mouth. Obviously it's like why? Why did you have to do it? It really puts a sour spot on the name, and obviously doesn't help the Reds out in any way. Here I am contemplating putting them as my favorites for the division, and one of their shining kids is missing half the season now. So, obviously, really unfortunate. in this short stint when he got called up last year towards the end, he was really good. In 35 games, 36 hits, 3 home runs, a 315 batting average, an 822 OPS, and what could have been an amazing Rookie of the Year campaign for him has turned into, well, who is this guy now? What are we going to be doing with him? Um, obviously going to wait the suspension. Will he be the same player afterwards? Like, it's all those things that just really is unfortunate for him. Um, and really the Reds team. There's only really one guy who's, I guess, um, not happy about it, but at least it gets him into the lineup more, and that's Jonathan India. With all of their young kids and Matt McLain, the signing of Yaimer Candelario, Jonathan India that was looking to be traded. They don't know what they're gonna do with him, and he was the Rookie of the Year winner for them like 2-3 years ago. So that's really unfortunate, but without now Marte in the lineup, India will get more appearances at second, more appearances at the DH spot. They can run a lineup where India is a DH, Spencer Steer, or excuse me, Matt McLain is at second base, and then Candelario at first, and Encarnacion Strand at first, or they can do India at second, I keep saying Spencer Steer, Matt McLain at first, and Encarnacion on the DH. Like, they have some options there to kind of like rotate guys, give them a day off in a way of not having to play defense. Um, so we'll see what happens with India. And I mean, for him, you've given an opportunity here to play more baseball. He's got to make the most of it because his time with Cincinnati could be running low here, and he's got to make the most out of every at bat, every opportunity that he's going to get in that starting lineup on a day-to-day basis to kind of outperform. You have 80 days to do so. So that's going to be a key for Jonathan India moving forward, and obviously for Marte. It sucks, but I mean, the only thing you can do now is serve your time and come back into the league and be that superstar that the Reds might need to get them over the hump for a division, because they, come June, July, they might need that push, and maybe Marte is going to be the guy who delivers it. But obviously, right now, a sour taste in definitely Reds fans' mouths, but in baseball in general, you hate to see that kind of stuff happen to certain individuals, and young kids are usually ones that kind of hurt sometimes, especially top prospects like he was. So it's definitely not the best news for Reds fans. And speaking of bad news for some teams, we got some injuries and some major ones for two teams in particular. Let's start with the Yankees, and this is a big one because they are losing the Cy Young winner, the ace of that staff, Garrett Cole. He'll miss at least 1 to 2 months. There's some concern with his arm, and he is ruled out for a little bit here, and that is a huge blow to Yankees and Yankee fans, and in a year that they're trying to make theirs. They trade for Soto, they trade for Verdugo, they signed Stroman, and now there's a lot of uncertainty, or at least some of the uncertainty with the Yankees going forward here in the first 2 months of the season. Obviously it's a good thing that baseball season's, 6 months, but still, losing Garrett Cole has definitely raised some concern, at least for me, with that rotation now. Because what you're left with was a Carlos Rodon, who, when healthy, has shown signs of elite pitchers, but has shown a lot of fragile body parts. He's always getting hurt. And he was last year, and he was really bad when he was healthy, which makes me believe that he wasn't really ever healthy properly. They probably rushed him a little bit, and, when he was pitching, it wasn't great, and obviously spent a lot of time on the IL last year. You're left with a Nestor Cortez, who, kind of last year was an enigma year. I don't remember much about Nestor Cortez last year, and I'm just trying to pull it up now quickly, because, what do you have there? Last year, he made 12 starts with a 4.97 ERA. So, yeah, nothing great there. You have a Marcus Stroman, who you signed, who had a great year with the Cubs, but obviously, it's always interesting to see how new players adjust to playing in front of Yankee fans and in Yankee Stadium, because you get two different pitchers or two different players. You get one who can't handle it and just, becomes the worst version of themselves, or you get a shining star. So, Stroman is definitely, a question mark in my mind. And then you got Clark Schmidt, who's a young kid who, in the little bit of time he's gotten, hasn't really put together any great, like numerous outings in a row. So it's question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. It's your four starters. Like, the ceiling is high. Don't get me wrong. Rodon at his best is amazing. Stroman at his best is amazing. Nestor Cortez in 2022 was amazing. Clark Schmidt, one of their top prospects. Right now they have Clayton Beefer. I'm not Beater. I'm actually not able to see that far from what I'm looking at. Listed as the 5 now with Cole out. And, for me, that's just a recipe for concern in, the minds of me. I don't trust that rotation right now. Once we start to see it, I guess maybe we'll have a different pace. Maybe the Yankees are, just stop out of force, and Rodon's healthy, and Cortez is back, and Stroman's continuing to be great, because that can still be a very impressive 1, 2, 3. But you never know, right? Like they start the season on the road in a 4-game series with the Astros. So I mean, if there was any time, they're going Astros, Diamondbacks, Blue Jays to start their season. That is really tough, if I'm being honest. If the Blue Jays, aren't choking anything, if the Diamondbacks are anything like they were last year, the Astros, then you go Marlins, Guardians, Blue Jays, and then Rays. So, the start of that season, it's going to be a little bit tougher, I think, for Yankee fans without the race now. So obviously you want all the best for Cole to come back healthy and be great. But 1 to 2 months, and who knows if it's going to be longer, that's going to be tough for, Yankee fans, at least for that first month. So I guess for now, until Cole's back, you should just be, doing the best you can, as well. No, duh. Of course, they're going to be doing the best they can. But will it be enough is what I'm trying to get at, because, that rotation could be kind of finicky to start the year. But who knows? Maybe Stroman will be fine. Maybe Rodon will be healthy and great. So, bunch of question marks right now looming in Yankee land. But not the only team that's hit with a huge injury, because Devin Williams of your Milwaukee Brewers, he is going to miss at least 3 months of the season. He has 2 stress fractures in his back. And that is brutal news for your Brewers, because as mentioned in the TOP that I did, they lost a lot of pitching in being Corbin Burns, really. And, the team didn't really get better, and they're just trusting some young kids. And, will it work out for them? Maybe. But at the same time, too, the one thing I praised was, Devin Williams being one of their best players on that team, one of the best relief pitchers in the NL, and possibly one of the best closers in our game right now. And you just lost him for half your season, and that's kind of, in my opinion, turned the season around for the Brewers. If there was going to be any hope for Milwaukee, they're going to be able to win, need to win those late inning games, whether it's up by 1 or down by 2, and you need someone from your bullpen to come and close it out. And although Joel Payampas had a great end to his season last year, and Trevor McGill is okay, Hobie Miller, Brayu, Bryce Wilson, like they have some names there in that bullpen, but none of them are really, in my mind, closer material. These are all guys who could have high 3 ERAs, by May, by June. So, obviously we'll have to see how it actually goes down once the season starts. But, if I'm any team in the NL Central, or any team who faces the Brewers early, in the first half of the season, really, never say die, because that bullpen is not going to be as sturdy as it could be without Devin Williams. And if you're down by 1 in the 9th inning, and they bring in someone like Trevor McGill or Joel Payampas, count your blessings that it's not Devin Williams, and try to get something going and try to tie that ball game up, try to win that ball game, because Devin Williams, that screwball is absolutely filthy. If I mean, I call it a screwball, but it's a disgusting pitch. He's a really great closing pitcher, and for me, without him there in that first month of the season, they probably lose an extra 5, 6 games at least. And you might be there sitting. That's not that many games in 162. Yeah, you're right, but 5, 6 games can be the difference of being a wild card team and missing the playoffs. So and if the Pirates have a huge jump and if O'Neal Cruz is great, I mean, we're talking about a Brewers team that could be fifth in a division after being one of the best teams last year. So, you really got to sit and ponder about, what kind of season the Brewers could have right now without Devin Williams. So, really unfortunate news there. All right, now let's talk about some of the signings and the small deals that have happened since our last episode. I'm not going to be going too much into stats and numbers, but, just to throw out the deals and the signings for, those fans of those teams. They can hear their guys if they happen to miss something. And we're going to start with J.D. Davis, who, when the Giants signed Matt Chapman, he didn't really have a spot on the team, and he was getting paid, or he was supposed to be getting paid, 7+ million, I think, by the Giants. So they started looking for a trade, something to get rid of him, essentially. Couldn't find it. Nobody wanted to take on the contract. No one needed that third base. They end up releasing him, and then he's going to end up signing with the Oakland A's for $2.5 million for the 1 year. Obviously, if you're J.D. Davis, this hurts and this sucks because you go from a potential playoff team with the Giants and $7 million to $2.5 million and a year on the Oakland Athletics. So obviously not the best, but hopefully he makes the most out of it. He'll get a lot of playing time there. He'll be one of the best players there. And, who knows? Maybe he ends up having a fantastic year for Oakland and being a huge star. And Oakland's able to trade him away to a playoff team. In that case, it's a win-win. He gets a chance at a playoff run. Oakland gets some prospects. So, if I'm J.D. Davis, make the most out of it. Have a good year. Make a case for yourself to still, be in the league and be a high-paid player. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just not going to be with the Giants this year, which, again, really unfortunate because there was some loophole as well with his contract that I was looking at that I'm not remembering right now, unfortunately. But it's tough, but make the most out of it. You'll be fine. Have a good year with Oakland and enjoy the Coliseum and enjoy, just enjoy Oakland, man. It's going to be tough, but have the best year you can because you're going to need it, to be honest with you. But I do like J.D. Davis, so hopefully he ends up kind of resurging a little bit with Oakland. Some of the other signings, Joey Votto, the 40-year-old veteran, he signs with his hometown in Toronto, the Blue Jays. It's a non-roster deal, so he's a minor leaguer right now. This is fun. For me, I think I said at the beginning of the offseason, I think Votto needs one more year, at least one more year, get him a proper send-off, either re-sign with the Reds or come for 1 year with the Blue Jays. Any other team I would not have wanted, and he signs with the Blue Jays. Canada kid comes home, and it's great. It's going to be hopefully he makes the team. Hopefully he's able to get into some baseball with the Blue Jays in the major league level because that will be a lot of fun. I know he had a spring training game yesterday, I believe, or 2 days ago, and he hit a home run in his first swing and then had some issues with his knee, I believe, or he was taken out of the game. But, I mean, it was first game, first swing, first at-bat, hit a home run, and then was taken out with a potential injury. He's listed day-to-day now, but, a good and bad sign there for Blue Jays fans. So hopefully Votto can figure things out there. Ryan Stanek, relief pitcher, goes from Houston. He is signing with the Mariners. Seattle, staying in the division, a 1 year, $4 million deal. Good for Seattle. That helps your bullpen out a little bit. Stanek's been a great piece for the Astros bullpen for the last 2-3 years, I believe. And, now, you face him enough. You know what you like from him. Now that you have that on your team, hopefully he's able to do the same for you as he was for Houston. Adam Duvall is signing with the Braves. And if that sounds familiar to you, it's because it's not his first time signing with the Braves. In fact, this is the third time Adam Duvall has been with the Braves in his career. The first time being in 2018, then he was again in 2021, and now once again. It'll be his sixth year in Atlanta, his third different stint. So, he'll be essentially a bench bat there, but for 1 year for $3 million, I'm sure he'll get into some games, a little platoon action out there in left field potentially. And so good for him and good for Atlanta. The Reds are signing Justin Wilson to a 1 year, $1.5 million deal. I don't have much to say about this one, if I'm being honest. Justin Wilson, placed in the bullpen, a left-hander to go along with Brent Sutter. The Reds need a left-hander in the pen because they only had Sutter, and now they got Justin Wilson. So hopefully that works out for him. He's been in the league for quite a while now. I think this is 11th, 12th year in the big league. So the veteran knows what he needs to do there in the Reds bullpen. And the Pirates made a couple of signings. The first one I love a lot, Michael A. Taylor, to a 1 year, $4 million deal. He'll be patrolling out there in center field. I like Michael A. Taylor. He's going to get you some great defense and a decent stick every now and then. Loved him in Washington, loved him with Kansas City, even Minnesota. So I've always been a fan of Michael A. Taylor, so good for him to net himself a deal with the upcoming, potentially good Pirates team. And they also signed Domingo Germán, which I have a little bit more of an issue with, more of a problem there. Domingo Germán, a $1.5 million deal. And I have no idea. It's a non-roster deal, but it is worth the 1.5. It's weird to say Germán is still going to be playing baseball. Yes, he threw a perfect game last year, but he's also got other issues that I will not be indulging with. What sucks about this is Trevor Bauer, because I love Trevor Bauer, and he took to Twitter as soon as the signing happened and was just lol. That's all he wrote. Because I believe Bauer deserves that second chance and the chance to be, back in the big leagues. Domingo Germán, on the other hand, I disagree. So, a little controversial stuff here, but at the end of the day, I think Bauer deserves that second chance, and to see the Pirates, giving it to Germán and not Bauer, it kind of sucks a little bit, because, Germán's probably going to get into some games. The rotation isn't anything crazy. Germán, when right, can be a good pitcher. But then again, Bauer was a Cy Young winner and, is in a way innocent. That might upset some people, but hopefully, Bauer finds a home somewhere soon, because I would love to see him in the league still. And for the Pirates, good for signing Taylor, for signing Germán. And that's all of the recent signings that have happened in the last little bit here, but not the only kind of, signing stuff that could be happening here, because we've got an update, yes we do, on Mr. Blake Snell. There's been some news circling out of Snell's camp that he's been, being pursued right now by the Houston Astros, and he has come out and said that if the Astros were to give him at least 2 years and $66 million guaranteed, he will sign with the Houston Astros. And listen, for a pitcher of Blake Snell's caliber, this is a steal for Houston. You get a great pitcher for your rotation. Everything just goes great for Houston. The only problem with this in Houston's, vision and in Houston's world is that would put him over the third tier of the luxury tax. Definitely something that they would be trying to avoid. So there's hesitation there. However, right now, we're looking strong as a potential favorite, being Houston for Blake Snell before the season starts here. Of course, that is if everything goes right and everything goes according to plan. But, it's interesting, because to see Blake Snell in the orange will be definitely a weird sight at first, but I think he would fit in well there in Houston. So hopefully the Astros can make some room in the budget, find something there. There's a vesting option on Presley for $14 million. A lot of their guys right now is kind of locked up. Alvarez is locked up till 2029. Same as Hader. Altuve now goes to 2030. Bregman's the free agent after this year, and who knows what kind of year he's going to have. If Houston's going to try to extend him, does he find, somewhere else? But outside of that, their team right now is very full in terms of the money spent. Verlander takes up a big portion of that as well. So it is tricky right now for Houston, but if they can find a way to make it work and get Blake Snell, we're talking about another year in the LCS, another potential World Series. So if I was Houston, it's definitely something I'd be trying to, pull off. Last thing here to talk about. Spring Breakout has happened. It has come and gone. If I'm being honest with you guys, a little, not underwhelming, but I'm surprised how, some of the games, the cameras were really weird. The commentating, like, it really didn't feel like it was supposed to be this hyped up for what it actually was, because it just felt like other spring training games. Obviously, that's what they are, is spring training games. But there was some good use of it. I'm sure if you watched your team's games, you got to see some of your team's prospects, which is really cool. There was some rain on the West Coast that canceled some of the games even. So, I mean, if you were a fan of like the Mariners, Giants, Cubs, White Sox, like there was 3 or 4 games, I believe, that got rained out. So some teams didn't even get to see their prospects, which, I mean, yeah, it was just kind of unfortunate the way it worked out, but it's a cool idea, and I think it's going to be brought back for, a couple years now. So it'll be cool to see your prospects each year, kind of how they go. Obviously, some pitchers only went in for 1-2 innings, and that was it. I went through a couple of the games, saw a little bit of some action, but I didn't really get to learn any new prospects that I didn't already know, but I did get to see some of the prospects that I did know, like Jace Young from the Tigers, Paul Skeens from the Pirates was great, Kyle Manzarado from Cleveland. He's becoming one of my favorite, young prospects right now, so hopefully he gets a chance this year perhaps. And then Jacob Mizorowski. Mizorowski is a name that I have practiced pronunciation, and I hope I'm nailing it. Mizorowski, the flamethrower for the Brewers, who potentially could be on the team at some point this year. Those were the 4 that stood out to me in the actual games as well. Jace Young hit a 2-run home run, and Mizorowski had a great inning. So, overall, it was a cool way to watch your team, right? In spring training, you start with your MLB team a little bit, half of your MLB team. Then about 4th inning, you start making some substitutions into some of the younger kids, and then some of the other players that you really don't know or probably won't be in the league at any time really. So that's usually how the spring training games work. But at least this way, you get to see the top prospects. We got to see the Yankees, Spencer Jones, Baltimore, Jackson Holiday, the White Sox. We would have saw Colson Montgomery. Like, there was a lot of upside to this idea. It was cool in theory. Execution, hopefully they could step it up a little bit next year. The camera, you don't really get to see the pitcher. I forget what game it was. I think it was Phillies or something, or maybe it was the Reds. It was on the Thursday, the first day. It was just tricky, that game. So obviously some work to be made, but overall a great idea, great concept, and it was good to see, of course, our team's prospects in the game of baseball. But that is going to do it for us here today. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Baseball opening day, 10 days away, but we're even closer to baseball because on Wednesday we have the Seoul Series, 2 games, Dodgers and Padres. We're going to be talking about that on Friday. It'll be good for me to practice, the episodes again, talking baseball like I did last year. I forget all of the things I practiced, the things my rotation, my schedule, my routine. That was the word I was looking for. So I'm excited for that. So Friday, the Seoul Series recap will be happening. So mark your calendars for that one. And enjoy some baseball. Obviously a little tricky over here, East Coast, West Coast, 4 a.m., 6 a.m. ball games. So you got to wake up really early or stay awake for a long time. So hopefully, in the end of the day, you get to see highlights and we'll see how your players are doing. Fantasy counts for these games as well if you do baseball fantasy. And of course, that's all I got. So thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you on Friday.